great house. In the meantime, though, we do want to bring things back here at home now and head to Rockville, Maryland, because that's where families were rallying earlier tonight as part of a protest over school redistricting plans. The Montgomery County Public Schools Board of Education held a capital improvement project hearing earlier tonight. Protesters packed the meeting, urging the board to reject the superintendent's recommendation to close Wooten High School over deteriorating conditions. Magruder High School families want the new Crown High School to act as a holding school that can be used while Wooten and Magruder undergo renovations. And those renovations are one of the main points that a lot of these families are urging the Board of Education to focus on. So for more on the meeting, Magruder High School PTSA President Kim Glassman and Cluster Coordinator Dan Silva and some parents join us now live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Kim, I want to start with you. Can you talk to us a little bit more about Magruder's requests specifically?
So Magruder has been in and out of the capital improvement budget 3 times now over the last 10 years. We are asking to be prioritized. We are asking to be funded. We are asking that the new Crown serve as a short-term temporary holding school so that Magruder can be renovated in a timely manner and that we don't have to be in Wooten as a holding school. As we know, the proposal to relocate Wooten is because of its poor conditions. It's a tiny bit less bad there than it is at Magruder. It is too far away for our friends and our neighbors to get to. It's basically a geographic island for us, for a lot of our families. So we are asking that the superintendent's recommendation be rejected in favor of what used to be option G, which would allow us to use Crown as a temporary holding school, while people who are local to Crown also get to use it as a local high school. For us, Wooten is just not a viable holding school. It will take far too long to fix Wooten before it can be a holding school. The projected cost of that is another $100 million that MCPS does not have. It is really just kicking the can on Magruder for what feels like to be in perpetuity, and that is not acceptable to us.
Dan, let me ask you this in terms of your experience and with the parents as well. How has the communication been from MCPS about the process of this, their reasoning behind this holding school decision? And do you feel that they have taken the considerations of parents into consideration or effectively, or do you still think that they are ignoring the requests of parents?
No, the communication, I will say there has been a lot of communication, but it's been so much that, I mean, it's just a fire hose of information, and it's so confusing to everybody that people can't keep up with the constant changes. As far as whether they're listening, it doesn't feel like they are. All of the vocal, I have to go to a lot of these meetings in my role. And it's not just as they're trying to claim a vocal minority. Everyone in our cluster, most of the Wooten cluster, the Damascus cluster, they're all voicing one thing, and MCPS is saying, well, the data is showing us another, even though they're also telling us that their data shows that Magruder is in the worst condition of any secondary school in the entire county.
So Dan, what happened at tonight's meeting? Can you kind of fill us in on a little bit of how it went down and what those parents testified to?
Sure. Magruder, we weren't directly involved in the boundary study that involved Crown and what was going to happen with that. So it wasn't until February 5th when he announced his recommendation to relocate Wooten that Magruder really had the opportunity to even step into this fight. So this is our only real opportunity to show up and be seen by them before their March 26th vote. We were able to get a very strong showing. I testified myself. We had about 12 or 13 other community members testify. Basically, we just want Crown to be available to us as a holding school so that we have a path forward when the money comes available in the next CIP cycle.
Students, what are some of the items at play that, let's say, parents who may not understand the whole issue completely, what are some of the issues that could be at play based, beyond school conditions? Is it class sizes? Is it opportunities to get access to teachers or recruiting of teachers, things of that nature? Are those things also on the line, or are there other impacts that could happen based on what the decision is with Crown and how MCPS decides to have these students move?
I would say those things are generally part of the operating budget versus the capital improvement program. However, it is definitely impactful. I don't know how many teachers are clamoring to work in a building with moldy ceilings. We even received a picture of mold growing on a chair that was in a classroom that one of our teachers was using. So while it is not directly impactful, I think there is certainly some indirect impact there for folks who might just not feel comfortable working in a building where the conditions are really unsafe. What we learned from the Facilities Condition Index is that Magruder's building, with the worst FCI of all high schools, is rapidly declining and rapidly deteriorating and expecting to go downhill even faster in the next 5 to 10 years. So that certainly has an impact on who might be willing to work there.
So, Dan, was there any indication, or have you gotten any indication, that the board might reject the superintendent's decision and adopt the modified recommendations? And if so, why or why not?
They definitely have not indicated that they're planning on rejecting that. They haven't been outwardly vocal in their support. To be fair, their role is to consider all of these things and then vote on March 26th. So we are still optimistic that they will accept the modifications that have been proposed by the Rockville city government. The entire city council of Rockville and the mayor of Rockville signed off on a proposal that would keep it as a holding school. But we don't want to get our hopes up too much. We do want to keep a little bit of hope, though.
Dan, was there any conversation tonight at the meeting about if the plan is accepted and there is, there's students will have to deal with mold and really horrible conditions? Is there any remediation that they mentioned on a short-term basis to make sure it's habitable for students? If this, again, if the decline continues, or is it more kind of an all or nothing thing?
It's kind of an all or nothing thing. Just
Wow.
Very, very high level. The FCI, what it is basically evaluating the useful life of your building. And once you get to our point, once you get to that range of a 0.60 to a 0.65, the generally accepted building standards are that it's no longer fiscally responsible to continue investing in that building. So basically, we're in that purgatory where they're saying your building is past the point where it's worth investing in. It needs to be replaced. But they're also saying we don't have any money to replace it. So just hang on, work, wait longer, and maybe someday we can come up with a plan.
Work with mold is basically what they're saying. Like,
essentially, yeah.
And like, there's no remediation. No, like, hey, we'll make some adjustments to get the mold out of there.
They have promised efforts to step up, maintenance efforts. If there are, one of the reasons we have mold is because our roof is due to be replaced, and we've had frequent water intrusions from the roof. When that gets into the acoustic tile ceilings, those grow mold easily. So yes, they will replace those ceiling tiles. Yes, they will do some minor remediation, but it's still in the air. It's still in the HVAC systems. We still have a lot of complaints of people complaining about, mold allergies and reacting to this, the air quality that's just so ingrained in the systems that you can't get it out without extensive remediation.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kim, we heard Dan mention that March 26th vote. In the meantime, what happens and what are the next steps for you? You mentioned this was really your first shot at kind of speaking up.
I would say we've been emailing our thoughts to the Board of Education and Superintendent Taylor for a little bit now. Our community came out in force this evening, so hopefully that sent a message. There is another CIP hearing tomorrow night for the clusters that were not addressed in tonight's hearing, so they will continue to hear more. And then the March 26th vote is when the boundary study recommendation is actually voted on. A few of the testimonies this evening asked for a delay of that, and then to delay it until the capital improvement budget is actually voted for in June. I realize this is a little in the weeds. So I think for us, we just have to keep the advocacy up, keep the momentum going, and keep showing up for Magruder, because Magruder can't wait.
And Dan, my final question kind of extends on the advocacy piece. Is there anything, if the vote does go in the way of the superintendent, where they're going to have this school where kids have to go into, is there going to be any movement towards appealing to the governor's office or state education officials that could come in at some level, or is it mostly at the regional and county level that this goes to?
It is definitely mostly at the regional and the county level. I will say, we have been very active behind the scenes, meeting with council members, like Rockville council member Adam Van Grock was there at the meeting today. meeting with county council members, exploring all kinds of avenues. We're trying to find alternate sources of funding. Our state delegates are starting to get involved in the conversation. Again, we were kind of late to the party on this one because we weren't included in the initial study, but we've been very active in trying to explore every avenue possible for our cluster and for our students.
All right, Kim, and finally, if there's anyone out there watching, if there are any other parents that want to get involved, where can they go for more information, and how can they get in touch with you guys?
They can find us at the Magruder PTSA. A lot of our elementary and middle school PTSAs are also involved. So whatever school your child goes to, start with their PTSA, and we are happy to have you on board for our advocacy efforts. We are a cluster of 9 schools. We are small but mighty, and the more the merrier.
All right, Magruder High School PTSA President Kim Glassman and Cluster Coordinator Dan Silva, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and for all the parents who stuck around to make their voices heard as well.